Okay, as you can see, I am sitting in the car. Why? Well, trying to work out what is going on with the gearbox. I was not able to get into third gear. Never tried to get into fourth gear, but I was not able to get into third gear. So there's something going on, and it might be adjustment. I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is fire up the car on the jack stands, and the idea of doing that is everything should be a little bit looser. There's less binding on everything, and just see, can I get third and fourth gear with the engine running on the jack stands, and then we can start adjusting from there. So all right, so I can get first, second, third, and fourth gears. Third gear definitely was grinding a little bit, so it is time to start taking the gearbox apart. I've never taken a Hewland gearbox apart, so wish me luck. All right, let's tackle the thing that I am most nervous about, which is this Hewland gearbox. So if you know anything about Formula Fords, they all use Hewland gearboxes. I think there's two types of the Mark one, they call Mark 6, 7, and 9, I think. And then there's an LD200 on some of the newer cars. So as you saw, we're struggling to get third gear, so we've got to get inside the internals and see what is actually going on. So we're going to take this back cover off, and then inside here in the next part are two shafts with all the gears, and we're going to take those apart and have a look. So I've never done it before, so hopefully I don't mess it up, but we'll go slowly and we'll see how we do. Okay, let's take the cover off. Probably going to make a little bit of a mess here. Just gear oil. Okay, so there are the two shafts, 1 and 2. These are the selectors for the gears. That's reverse. This one is first and second, and I believe this is third and fourth. And then this is our hockey stick selector, basically, that goes between the gears. So as we adjust we move the shifter up front, it slides in and out and moves these selectors forwards and backwards. So that's the first step done. Now this is where it starts getting more complicated. I'm going to slow down. So what I need to do is I'm going to lock these two shafts, because we're going to take ultimately we're going to take these nuts off. But in order to do that, if we start spinning them, then the shafts themselves will spin. So there's a special trick, which is we can lock the gearbox by pushing it into reverse and third gear at the same time, and it'll lock these shafts. So let's see if we can do that right now. Can we do that? Let's see. Okay, I moved you a little bit just to get you better light. So these two split pins need to come out first. I was able to, by the way, get the gear into third here and into reverse here to lock the gearbox. So let's work on the split pin. Okay, that's the split pins done. Next thing is we're going to start opening these bad boys. Now, the top one I think is reverse thread, and that's normal thread. This one comes all the way off, and this one we just open. So time to go get a big bar. Okay, big bar found. Reverse thread, so spinning it the wrong way. Should be tightening it, but it's not. It's loosening it. Okay. And this one is our ordinary. Okay. So that just comes off a little bit. That one comes all the way off. And this little bar has to come out now. Just gotta remember that there is a hole in it for the split pin, so that has to be lined up. Okay, we're getting there. Now, we've got to remove the jockey wheel, or the hockey stick. So you guys can't see it, but there's a little pin here we're gonna take out. Okay. Hockey stick out. There's a little bit of slack in the shifter mechanism, so that could be part of our problem. Move this out a little bit. It's coming. Okay. It didn't completely fall apart, so that's good. Yeah, at least. We can worry about that later. It's remarkably small, isn't it? Yeah. Wow, I thought it'd be a lot bigger. Well, there we go. First time taking a Hewland gearbox apart. Of course, that's the easy bit. The hard part is putting it back together. Okay, so I've taken the transmission apart and taken a bunch of photos and had people look at them, and the consensus is the gears are pretty good. So that's not where the issue is, probably the linkage, but taking it all apart now, so I've got to put it back together. So I thought it might be a good opportunity to share with you what I have learned. So you keep hearing me talk about this thing being a dog box. So here's a gear, and these are the dogs, these kind of keys that step up. And so the way to make this thing work is you have the gear spinning, but it's not actually engaged, and then you have a dog ring, and the dog ring engages quickly and locks in the drive, and that's the gear then selected. So let's show you a little bit more detail by putting it together. So this is fourth gear, I believe. Am I doing this right? Yeah. Okay, so here's a gear. There's a bearing in there, so we're going to go ahead and start building this. So in goes the gear. We'll drop the bearing in. This is a hub that sits in there, and so we're building the stack of gears. So we got a gear with the dog standing upwards. We need a dog ring, so that goes in next. And this gets a little bit awkward. I've done it a couple of times now. So the next thing we do is we need the hub that sits in there, so that goes in nicely. Then we have the gear. Now we'll need, remember the dogs need to face down towards the dog ring, and the selectors are matched with 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and reverse. And so the selector, this one for example, moves up or moves down to engage the the dog ring. So I need to play around with this a little bit just to get it all to fit. So there's the gear and the dog ring. Okay, and then we can put in the bearing in there. So that is, am I right in saying this? This is actually 4th and 3rd engaged. And now here's 2nd gear, so it will sit on top. Now we'll probably have to fiddle around a bit to make it work, with the dog facing upward, because it's this selector that's gonna make it move around. We can go ahead and put a bearing in there. Okay, bearing is there. Here comes the dog. So we'll go ahead and put that in. Just make sure everything is rotating just fine. Let's do this. Let's put the dog in first. And for some reason it is selected, so let's just move it up so it's in the position as if it was selected. It was selecting a gear. So maybe what we have to do is, that's okay, but there we go. In goes the dog. It's in nicely there. And then the hub sits inside of that. And now we're getting towards the end. So here's the final, this is 1st gear. And so we can just drop that in. It sits there nicely, it engages. And then, okay, just to confirm, 4th is at the bottom, 3rd, 2nd, and that is 1st. And then finally, we also need a reverse. And so, I'll make sure I do this right. It is a little bit funky. Everything is good there. Actually, the way to do this is do it together like this. And the gear actually, so this is reverse, and it should sit, what I recall, just in here. Wait, I have that wrong. I have that wrong. Okay, I gotta double check this. Don't want to do it wrong. Okay, and by the way, I've been checking various different videos, which I'll add in the comments to make sure to get this right. So thanks for all the folks who did all this stuff before me and essentially have taught me how to do it. It is proving to be a little bit tricky. Can we do it that way? Lift it up. There we go. Okay. Okay, little test to make sure everything is working. Something. So what I don't have actually is a shaft, an old pinion shaft to go in there to keep it all aligned. So we'll use this for the moment. It's not exactly what we're looking for, but I can see that things are moving. And just so here's a dog. So when that moves up, it selects this gear. When it moves down, it selects that gear. So that's basically how it works. Very eloquent. Kind of, once you understand it, very simple. So this is now ready to go back into the car. So just found something really interesting. You might have heard me talk in one of the earlier episodes in the one lap that we did at Thunder Hill, or I did at Thunder Hill. The car overheated, and I thought it was just the fact that I didn't have a hose on here, and we've been working on the angles, and we'll talk a bit about why there wasn't one there. But I took off the thermostat housing, which we had to adjust, and I found something interesting in there. So this was stuffed in there. So it's pretty wet, no big surprise. So the engine's trying to pump water through there, and obviously it is blocked. So that, you know, I didn't put it in there, but it's super interesting that it was in there. I'm kind of glad we found it now. So we might have solved our overheating problem. There's at least almost guaranteed to be one of our problems solved. But while I'm here, I'll show you what else I'm doing. So the issue here is that this tank, is really close to this firewall, and we can't get that hose on the overheat. What would you call it? Yeah, the overheating the expansion tank hose on there to flow into the expansion tank. So I've got actually a different one of these, which is actually at an angle. I'm hoping that will help things out. So anyway, a little bit of success. Okay, hopefully you can see the problem we're trying to solve here. So this guy should have a hose going out here down the expansion tank. With the adjustments we made, it ended up being right up against this firewall, which means the hose can't be there, and also we don't want it banging off the firewall. Now the challenge is, this is the original thermostat housing, and it causes it to be knocking against the firewall. And I tried all different permutations with that, and it is not working. So a while ago I had actually purchased, this is a handmade aluminium one. I purchased this, which is one of the original stock ones. Now if we look at it, you'll see, it'd be hard to see here, maybe I can do it this way. This goes straight out, and this kind of comes up at an angle. And then the other thing is, if we compare it, there again, it might be a little bit hard to see, but this is going there, and that's kind of at a slightly different angle. So my hope is that this guy will end up kind of pointing up that way a little bit, and turned around that way a little bit, which will save us, if that works, it'll save us a lot of hassle. Now, you'll note something else. These are different diameters. So the outer diameter of this is different than that. If I'm remembering correctly, I think that's 1 inch, and that's 1 1/4. And this has a 1 inch pipe on it too. So I actually bought a reducer 1.5 to 1. So fingers crossed it works.